You ready?
I think we love a mystery because it gives us something to talk about.
The story gets bigger as it goes along.
I think truth is more powerful than fiction.
Yeah, you're trying to solve a mystery, really. That's what you're trying to do, albeit in a big area, you know. Yeah, there's no Agatha Christie there to help you.
An alarming and unexplainable amount of disappearances.
There's now been 6 people over the last few years who've disappeared without trace.
Police say it's a coincidence, but locals are worried.
Hiking through Mount Buller's bushland and searching from the sky, specialist police look for Conrad Whitlock, mysteriously missing almost 300 kilometres from his Sandhurst home.
There's absolutely no trace of him. 52 years we're married. Yeah, yep.
Rolling? Look like a movie director. Yeah. Okay, guys, what a fantastic target. Blooper number 1. Okay, blooper number 1.
Con was a really friendly, generous, outgoing sort of guy. We weren't like your old married couple sitting there quietly. Everything was always interesting. We started skiing. He took up racing motorbikes. Then we decided it would be fun to try targa racing. Total adrenaline rush. And a couple of those were in the Victorian High Country.
That was awesome.
Really unnerving. Oh, I mean, you're going down driveways like that. Like,
This end here, I nearly got lost at the end here.
yeah, we were standing there. He was really happy in his life. He wasn't at all depressed because he just bought a brand new race car. He was just enjoying life so much.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah, mate. M. Shoemaker, be good enough for you? M. Shoemaker. Yeah, he's one of my many fans.
We were a team, and that's why it seemed so bizarre that he'd just disappear like he did. And that just brings me back to wondering where and what. I can't live wondering and wondering like that.
Yeah, for the northeast area today is going to be cloudy with a high 80% chance of showers, becoming less likely late this afternoon and evening. You're listening to Walk the Line with John Coffey right here on Radio Mansfield 99.7 FM. Your voice in the high country. Well, I know Mansfield gets 1.2 million visitors a year.
The high country sort of stretches from here all the way across to Gippsland and over the top of the range. It is a very large area to encompass. It is an enormous area, enormous. The advantage of being in a small town is that the availability of journalists is very slim, and people don't want to come and work in a town like Mansfield because the pay is $500 a week, so it's pretty shit pay. It's just, if you're happy to write, they're happy to have you. In the last 5 years or so, we've had a number of people disappear. Most of those have not been suspicious, but there have been a few that have not been found since then. The Barwon prison boss went missing, that was probably 10 years ago, and his body has never been found. There was a hiker that went missing also out of Mansfield on a 5-day hike, and his body was never found either. Conrad was last spotted up on Mount Buller driving his car.
The Victorian High Country, some of it's like steep, some of it's rocky, some of it's muddy. There's a fair few river crossings in the High Country. We run Reedy Recovery and Vehicle Salvage. We do a lot of recovery in the high country. It's pretty self-explanatory. You know, we get a phone call and then we just work out what we need to do to help the people out. We would normally attend at least 2 to maybe 3 jobs a week. It can be awkward, like we've spent 3 hours driving around looking for people before. I don't think we'll fit in that gap up there. I'm not sure if we're going to fit in that gap up there.
His wife of 52 years is struggling to comprehend how the racing enthusiast kissed her goodnight on Monday before leaving unannounced at 3 a.m. His BMW tracked to a corner halfway up the mountain, keys, clothes and phone inside, but the 72-year-old gone without a trace.
When I woke up at 7:30, he'd already gone, and then as the day progressed, I thought, I haven't heard from Con, so I rang his mobile and it just went to voicemail. And I didn't think much of it. Then I rang a factory and they said, no, we haven't heard from him at all. Then his manager said, well, look, I've got his password, I can do a Find My Phone. He rang me back shortly to say, we found his phone, we think, and it's on the Mount Buller Road. And that's when I just freaked out because I thought, what's he doing up there? They had footage of him on Eastling. The next footage they had was his car going past the ticket office at the base of Mount Buller. And that was at 6 a.m, I believe. The place that the car was left was called Unnamed Corner.
No one knows why, but he leaves his home, comes to the high country, parks his car, never seen again.
They had sniffer dogs, and I thought, why wouldn't they pick up a trail? The police said, no, unfortunately, the trail disappears after a couple of hours. All those things that you're led to believe by watching TV, it doesn't happen like that.
Anybody who may have seen any male walking downhill from Unnamed Corner off Mount Buller, we plead with you to please come forward.
Entering its 3rd day, this Victoria Police Air Wing is just about to take off from Pinnacle Valley to head towards the top of Mount Buller.
As the days and weeks went on, there was just nothing.
There was movement at the station, for the word had passed around that the colt from Old Regret had got away. So they went and got him back. That was the short version. All right, mate, don't kick the bucket. This snow country has a strong history. Cattlemen were running cattle in the high country before the township of Melbourne was formed. My family were the pioneers of the high country here above us. I lived my life in the bush, have done for 71 years, and continue to do so. It's pretty romantic country, it's beautiful. But as Tom Burlinson says, or Jim Craig says in the movie, it's beautiful one day and trying to kill you the next. There is legends that are born in that bush. In 1917, there was a manager in there who was murdered. They tried to find the murderer. They couldn't find him. 12 months later, they found his body up on one of the highest points. And that is a double murder that has never, ever been solved. I think there's probably maybe 3 to 5 people in this high country that go missing each year. Some are found, some are never sighted again. There is a character up on the Great Dividing Range that pretty hard to describe. He's not a recluse, but he's likes to be by himself. And we've known he's been there for years.
The most prevalent and widely believed theory, it is someone that they have all started to call the Button Man.
A mystery bushman who reportedly carves buttons out of deer antlers.
And he comes out of the dark without a torch and walks into your campsite and asks questions. He builds little pyramids of rocks.
What is interesting is all those paths cross near where he's known to camp. And so I think that's like the most damning evidence.
I'm Cindy Bowen. A couple of years ago, we were lost on a mountain.
Tonight we begin with the desperate search for two Melbourne hikers missing for over 3 days in Victorian bushland.
They are very experienced hikers and for some reason, they've simply vanished.
So Trevor, my partner and I, we decided to go up to Mount Buffalo and have a walk around. We were following markers and they eventually disappeared. We had a quick look at the map and we thought, no, we'll find a track and we'll head down and we'll get back somehow, like we'll be right. And we didn't. We got to a ledge and I don't know what time it was, but it was late afternoon. But we'd been walking all day and we were exhausted. So I knew then I had to stop. I think we started building a hut that evening, you know, just a little bit of shelter and just something to sleep on. So we ate something and thought, okay, in the morning we'll just continue on. We were sort of thinking a search will eventually happen, whether it's the evening or the next day.
I suppose when you look at the bush, you know, whether it's the outback or if you look at the mountains, because of the remoteness, it often leads to a lot of suspicion if somebody goes missing, that they're trying to hide, or some evil doing has been done to them as well. You know, and that's basically what it is. It's a good hiding place. That's why it's hard to search. Like, you just have to look at people like Ivan the Lat, you know, like, where do you hide the body? You hide the body in a remote area and in bushland, or just one of the better hiding places around the earth.
From out of the west, a young woman did appear, searching around for her sweetheart so dear. He's gone to the city.
I'm John Coffey. I'm involved with Radio Mansfield, local community radio. But in the past, I was ranger in charge of Mount Sterling.
The wind it blew hard and it chilled to her bones as she thought of her children and her family back home.
Searching is always the police's role, but it's up to you to sort of instigate the first instance of a search. You might knock off at 7 o'clock at night and the next minute you just get home and you get a phone call, oh, such and such is missing, and then off you've got to go out and find them again.
When people get lost, they panic, they do the wrong thing, and then they just get more lost. And in that country, it is that impenetrable and that overgrown with scrub, nobody will find you and you'll never be seen again.
When you drive up, you're driving through these beautiful tall trees and you think, oh, this is just absolutely lovely. But when you have a look closely over the edge, it's just completely a jumble of fallen trees and tree ferns that are so thick.
If you bushwalk, you can often be a couple of metres apart from one another. But in this situation, I used to have to say to Trev, hey, stop, I can't see you.
I started thinking of Con in the wilderness and I go, no, don't think about that.
We didn't ask the questions about, well, what happens if one of us survives? You know, we didn't go into that. Whenever the helicopter flew over, especially directly over us, he would, you know, make big sort of waving his hands just to make it look not like nature.
I mean, experienced hikers go missing.
We made a cross with stones, you know, like what they do in stranded movies and things like that. At night, one night, with the flash of our camera to make a light. But yeah, it didn't seem to work.
I'm imagining that he would have tried to find some shelter and there was just no sign of him.
I mean, it's not a normal experience and it's not something you plan for. So I suppose it is a reminder, you can get lost anywhere.
What an incredible story of survival. Trevor and Cindy, after 4 very frosty nights on Mount Buffalo, they've made it out alive. So what did you eat and drink while you were away? I mean, 4 days, were you ready for that? What did you eat and drink?
We had a day packed lunch, so we had quite a lot of snack bars and things like that, and today we ran out of everything. So yeah, smoothie bars, really.
Yeah, it was bigger than Ben-Hur.
A huge scale search for them. We've seen around 100 personnel out there today.
So I learned it was really difficult terrain to search in because of the rocks. If you'd asked me before we got lost, how do you think you would cope if you got lost? I'd say, oh look, I've got no idea. The takeaway, I guess, is that, yeah, never doubt yourself. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. You know, it's just us and we've just been lost, really. You know, that is a serious thing, but we just had no idea how big it was whatsoever.
So do you just want to explain to us what's running through your mind?
I basically feel like I'm living in a movie, that it's not happening. I've watched people being interviewed in this situation and I've always felt sorry for them, but you cannot imagine what it feels like. It was all over the media. There was one media article saying BMW driving millionaire goes missing in Victoria's high country. And I go, come on guys. It makes you feel like you're the subject of interest and excitement, and like people haven't got enough happening in their lives. They need these juicy stories that they try to make more of it than there really is. The Button Man was one.
When you first said the Button Man, I was like trying to profile him in my mind.
Some of the people who've met him say he is very, very spooky.
The Button Man, who operates like a kind of no country for old men nomad in the Victorian Alpine National Park.
The Button Man is still out in the wild.
He's sussing.
I think we are quick to come up with theories because it's easier than having to think outside the square and investigate for ourselves. If the media feed us a picture that fits most of the boxes, we're happy enough to run with that story.
No matter where you go in Australia, there's always you'd find yowies and drop bears and other strange creatures like that. It's just a different way of bullshitting, if you know what I mean.
And everybody wants their own fictional story, but I think truth is more powerful than fiction.
I had an incredible hope and faith that someone would find us and that we were okay. Like the vista, it was amazing. So every now and then, if we thought, oh, what am I going to do? We brought that in and we just kept telling ourselves, this is beautiful and we will be okay.
It's good to always see the positive side of things. I really was comfortable with the isolation. You could see the glow of Melbourne, so that was even comforting to know that people aren't that far away, although, you know, 300 k's I suppose is a fair distance.
Some of the most pleasurable times I've had have been up on Mount Sterling, snow grooming first thing in the morning, and all you see is little animal tracks in the snow and the sun coming through the mist. And then when you get to sunsets, it's always purpley, violety hues. Gives you that great to be alive feeling.
The fresh air and just, yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, it's more relaxing being out there. Just less hustle and bustle, and, you know, it's quieter, calmer. It's just one of those things. It's quite tranquil sort of being out most of the areas we go.
The opening sentences read, the Button Man of Mansfield has been tried, found guilty and hung out to dry by Metro media outlets across the country. Even the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom has run stories on the eccentric bushman who stalks campers. None of them claim he is guilty of murdering people gone missing in the hills beyond town, but lines are most certainly being drawn. The so-called Button Man is as local to Mansfield as you're going to get. He was not a pariah in Mansfield the way he was made out to be down in Melbourne.
I think people have enjoyed the fact of making a boogeyman out of him. They really have. One TV company rang me up and wanted me to take them up and basically corral him in an interview, and I said, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. He's just a bloke that wants to be alone in the bush, and now there's still people driving out there to find the Button Man and, point him out and take photos of him or whatever. It's destroying his value of life.
I think it helps people come to terms with it as well, because to be left in mystery and wondering is fine if you don't know the person involved.
Well, I just have extreme trust in Connor, the driver. Mind you, I was the first one to yell out when I saw the checkered flag, go for it! So I don't know whether I was a help or a hindrance.
You said you were a help.
Look, the way I've tried to make sense of it is that it has to be something medical, because he had been complaining of a headache that wouldn't go, and the doctor had no idea what it was. He decided the best thing to do was to have an MRI scan. He said to me when he went to bed, don't panic if I'm not there in the morning. It's because I've gotten up early to get it over and done with. As the days went by, they just didn't know where he's gone. And they're saying realistically, he possibly would have lasted maybe 3 days. It's really, really hard to confront the fact that he possibly is deceased. The way I've made peace with it is that he's had a good life, but we plan to go on for a lot longer.
Now this love sits home alone, wanting to be left alone with you.
I would just basically like to know that that area on the road to Mount Buller is his last resting place, and I'd be happy to go up there every now and again and put a bunch of flowers under the sign of unnamed corner and say that that's it. Yeah.